Hello, everyone. No one of consequence here with episode 5 of my remastered original Dungeons and Dragons adventure module playthrough series. So, as always, spoiler alert, in this video, I will be revealing details found in this adventure module. And here is the current composition of the adventuring group. We have 6 different characters, being controlled by 4 different players. And here is the roster of NPCs with the party. No changes since last time. We have the 2 full-time animal handlers, Quan and Jasmine, and then all of the other various animals that they're responsible for caring for. Now, where we left off last time, the characters had just returned to Hamlet after their final battle at the Moat House, during which they defeated an evil cleric named Loreth. Searching through Loreth's belongings, the characters uncovered clues which pointed towards more nefarious activities happening at the ruins of the Temple Elemental Evil, as well as the nearby village of Hamlet. The characters also brought back the body of the NPC Spugnoir, who had turned on them during the final battle. Despite Spugnoir's misguided betrayal, the characters were strongly encouraged to fund a resurrection for him due to his family's political connections. His punishment would be that he would be banished from Verba Bonk and sent back home to the city of Greyhawk, but it would be better for everyone if he arrived there alive rather than dead. So, after raising the money, the characters turned it over to the priest at the local Church of St. Cuthbert, who would oversee the resurrection ceremony in the city of Verba Bonk. Roy the Halfling agreed to go along to ensure that the money was actually spent on the resurrection, before returning to his home in the Halfling village of Littleborough. Meanwhile, the Hamlet Village Council asked the characters to continue their investigation into the apparent return of evil to the region. Based on Loreth's papers, the next obvious place to check out would be the village of Nulb, located about 10 miles from Hamlet. That place was frequently mentioned in Loreth's documents, primarily as a source of recruits and supplies for the temple. So, after a couple of days' rest, the characters set out for the village. After traveling most of the day, the characters finally arrived at Nulb, approaching along the road at the upper left corner of this map. Nulb turned out to be a ramshackle, run-down place situated on swampy ground next to a small river called the Emerides Run. Directly across the bridge leading into the village was a seedy-looking inn called the Waterside Hostel. However, the characters decided to explore the town a little first. One of the few commercial businesses in the village was this place, called Mother Scrang's Herb Shop. The characters stopped in and browsed, but found nothing of interest to buy. However, Mother Scrang, who was an ancient hag, still did her best to sell the characters various homemade potions and compounds, which she guaranteed would cure all manner of illnesses and diseases. But as they left empty-handed, Mother Scrang cackled and prophesied that the day would soon come when the characters would return in need of her services. Continuing on to the dock area, the characters went into another business called the Boatman's Tavern and Nulb Market. The place was filled with unsavory types who looked as if they were used to living on the water. The few who were willing to talk to the characters described themselves as river merchants, but they all gave off a distinct pirate-like vibe. So, after downing a glass or 2 of rum, the characters left this place. Next, the characters checked out the local blacksmith shop. They saw a stable next to the shop, so they decided to ask the smithy about stabling their horses there for the night. Because on their way into town, the characters had noticed that the inn had no stable of its own. The blacksmith, who said his name was Otis, claimed to be busy at the moment. However, he promised to come to the inn after he closed up shop to negotiate a stabling fee. He said he eats dinner there every evening anyway, so it was no problem. He also said that the characters could leave their horses here now, and he would look after them. Otis arrived at the inn at the appointed time, and the characters pushed a couple of tables together so they could all talk. After settling the matter of the stabling fee, Otis quietly told the characters that he knows who they are and why they are here. He said he already knows all about their adventures at the Moat House and their defeat of the evil cleric Loreth. Otis revealed that he is actually an agent of good sent here by the Hamlet Village Council to keep an eye on things. He even said that he is from Hamlet himself, although no one here in Nulb knows that. Otis said that he is the older brother of Elmo, and also that their father is the captain of the Hamlet Village Militia. Otis correctly answered other questions the characters had, convincing them that he really was who he claimed to be. He concluded by saying he believed that the characters were on the right trail, and that they should investigate the ruins of the Temple of Elemental Evil. Otis said that he too believed evil was stirring there again, but he could not investigate it himself without drawing suspicion from the Nulb villagers. Concerned that their huddled conversation might draw suspicions, Gorbadoc suddenly decided to create a diversion. Gorb's backstory is that he is originally from a region of Greyhawk called the Hold of the Sea Princess, and therefore, because of his upbringing, he knows many sea shanties and accompanying jigs and reels. So he jumped up onto a table and began to drunkenly sing and dance to distract the clientele from the other characters and their conversation with Otis. Soon a crowd gathered around, cheering and clapping while completely ignoring Otis and the others. The next morning, the characters stopped back by Otis's blacksmith shop to check on their horses before continuing on to the temple. Before they departed, Otis led the characters over to a nearby giant oak tree growing next to his blacksmith shop. Telling them to look closely, Otis pointed out two giant owls roosting among the tree's branches. Otis said that the owls are intelligent and serve as his spies, keeping watch over the temple area at night. In fact, they had already informed him of renewed activity at the temple. But again, Otis could not investigate it himself without drawing suspicion from the villagers. But Otis thought it would be a good idea for Thorol's owl to become acquainted with his owls for communication purposes. Otis said that if the characters got into trouble around the temple, Thorol could send his owl back here to summon help. And with that, the characters set off cross-country from Nulb towards the temple. The trip is only a couple of miles, straight line distance. This map shows how the Kura Road leads from Hamlet to Nulb and then off to the east through the forest. However, a faint dotted line shows the old and now abandoned road. It led from Hamlet to the Moat House and then to the temple before going off to the east. But that road was abandoned when the Moat House and the temple were overthrown some 10 years ago. And this is a zoomed out overhead view of the temple's surface structure. Although it may seem small from this perspective, don't be fooled. It is actually a massive building, approximately 450 feet long by 360 feet at its widest point. And here are a couple of artist depictions of how the building looks, as seen from the southern entrance and looking north towards the temple's main entrance. The area I've circled here on the overhead map is what is depicted in the illustration. And here is a zoomed in view of the same area. The arrow points towards the main entrance to the temple. But those doors are chained shut and engraved with many glowing magic runes. In fact, the magic is so strong as to make it nearly impossible to even approach the doors. However, there are two nearby side doors which are not magically sealed. In fact, one of the doors on the west side of the building is partially open. And so it was through this door that the characters decided to enter the temple. The building's interior was a vast open hall, disappearing into darkness in all directions. However, the characters soon found a small side chamber. There was an old fire ring in one corner of the room, but it was cold and looked like it had not been used in a very long time. Overall, the floor was scattered with trash and old bones, and the characters found nothing of interest. In the building's west wing, the characters found a huge stone altar. However, it had been smashed with many repeatedly heavy blows and was now partially broken. But just to the south, Gorbadoc found a partially open doorway. Passing through the door, the characters discovered a set of broad stone steps descending down into the darkness. So the characters decided to follow the steps to see where they led. Alright, well that's all for now. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If you can, leave a comment, let me know what you think. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. If you know of a good place, please share the video. And anything you do to help support the channel, I appreciate it. Thanks again. Bye for now.